Hello, America, and welcome to the program. We're going to start with 13 days left before Christmas. So how do we get into the Christmas mood? We'll do that beginning right now. I'm going to talk to you today about a couple of things. I want to talk to you about fake news. I want to talk to you about Russia. And I really want to talk to you about what's happening in the Asian Pacific, in the Philippines. What is happening in the Philippines is horrific, absolutely horrific. They are slaughtering people by the thousands because there's a new war on drugs. And the new president of the Philippines has said, we're going to kill any of the drug dealers and we're going to kill any of the drug users. In fact, I need your help. Citizens, you know a drug dealer, you know a drug user, kill them. They can't keep up with the murders now. Thousands of people have been killed. Tens of thousands have turned themselves in, but the prisons are so overcrowded, they don't know what to do with them, so they're just starting to kill them. It is the beginning of Germany. It is the beginning of Germany, and the world is silent. Meanwhile, the same kind of stuff is happening over in the Middle East, and the world is fairly silent on that. Just if you're not Muslim enough, they can kill you. I'm going to share a couple of things with you. I'm going to Haiti this week. That's never been on my bucket list. I'm going to Haiti because of something that you did back in 2013. And I want to show you what you did. 2013, I told you the story of children that have been kidnapped and sold into sex slavery. It's happening here in America. It's happening all over the world. There are more slaves today than there are at any point in world history. We haven't solved slavery. It's still going on. We're arguing about slavery that's 150 years old. What about the slaves that exist today? 2013, after we raised $1.5 million to start Operation Underground Railroad, I got this letter from a dad. Dear Glenn, before you sleep at night, do you check on each of your sweet children? Do you know that they're safe and sound before you close your eyes? Do you have to know that? Because I do. This is not why I've slept since my boy was taken. I walk the streets every night. I walk aimlessly through a different neighborhood every night, listening for his cry. I come home and I sit on my porch until I nod off for a few moments, and then when the sun comes up, I go to work at my orphanage. I can't sleep in my bed so long as my boy is not in his. I can't explain the pain. Months ago, I saw some light when I was introduced to Operation Underground Railroad. They came to my home, they met with me, and they began to investigate. My country doesn't have the ability to search for my boy, but Operation Underground Railroad does. And now they're coming back because of your audience. Your audience has sent them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. May God bless you forever. I know we will find my son. God has told me he is still alive. Gus Marty. I think of Gus quite often because they still haven't found his son. his son was kidnapped and trafficked. Tanya and I were talking about it a couple weeks ago. I don't know how I would go on. I would just pray that my son, after a while, was dead. Because I would have to know that he's not still going through that. The first operation they did in Operation Underground Railroad happened in Haiti. They rescued 28 children. They were being sold for sex, for labor, and for organ harvesting. 3 of Gardy, the little boy, 3 of his captors were arrested. And Gardy's friends were rescued, but Gardy had already been sold down the chain. When we had to tell Gardy's dad that he wasn't there, he spent very little time in mourning. In fact, this is what he said. Yes, I know. But I also know that you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my boy. If in the end I have to lose my boy so you can rescue even just these 28, then that's a burden I'm willing to bear for my entire life. If that's not the literal story of Christmas, of a boy being born to sacrifice, to save all the other. This week, I'm going to Haiti to visit with and bring Christmas to all of those rescued kids. The number just in Haiti now is 200. 7 of these kids are being adopted by 3 different families here in the U.S. We're bringing the families down. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children have been saved because of you. 4,000 refugees in the Middle East have been saved because of you. I want to talk to you about what the answer is. Right now, I wrote a rather terse response to somebody on Facebook this weekend because I got a lot of heat from people saying, Glenn, you're a sellout. You're talking to all of these people on the left. Glenn, you want us to get along with these people. We can never get along with them. Glenn, this will never work. You're being used as a shill. Glenn, these people don't want to talk. Glenn, do you know what these people have done to our country? I got it. I'm not stupid. I've asked those questions myself. Do you have a better idea? Does anybody have a better idea? Other than...
Well, yeah, their idea is keep doing what we're doing.
Yes. Other than just elect someone and then kick the snot out of the left. Just go in and kick all of the people who have been kicking you. See, I have something on the wall of my office. It's the notes kept by Hugh Stafford. He was one of the guys who was kept in the Hanoi Hilton. And he talks about how you're not supposed to judge others and how important it is to forgive others, even if they're not asking you for forgiveness. I can't think of another way that we survive, because the world is going over a cliff. And I haven't changed. I haven't changed my principles on single one. The principle still is the Constitution of the United States. I don't believe in progressivism. I don't believe that Hillary Clinton would have been better. I don't believe any of that. It was fake news that reported I got $109,000 from Hillary Clinton. It was fake news that said I was voting for Hillary Clinton. I believe in the Constitution, but more importantly, I have faith and I have hope because I have seen the charitable works of America. I know what I know where their heart really is. Sometimes it just gets buried. And if we can't find that heart at this time, well, then we don't. We're not the people we are. Then the fundamental transformation of America has happened. You see, the fundamental transformation of America was never about the policies. The fundamental transformation of America was really all about getting you to shut up and sit down and not be good. Sometimes the people on the left, they don't believe that we are good. They believe that we do cling to our God and our guns, that we have antipathy towards others, that we don't care. But I know that's not true on the left and the right. I know that's not true. There are bad guys on the right and bad guys on the left. But the majority of us are Americans for all of the good things that means. The answer is always faith, hope, and charity. And look what's happening. Our faith on little things, the war on Christmas, but the destruction of tradition, the degradation of all things that are sacred. There's nothing sacred anymore. All the way to the city policy in Houston of turn in your sermon so I can see what you've done. Cling to their God and their guns. The removal of prayer in school. Quite honestly, the damage that Christians have done to Christianity. What does it even mean anymore? We've lost hope. My children will not do better. The idea that America isn't already great. That we've lost the shining city on the hill. That only one man can do it. One woman can do it. We've put our faith and our hope in men and in parties. We've lost our hope as we attack the family. And charity? Charity's the government's responsibility. We're being told constantly that we're not charitable. That people are lazy. They get what they deserve. We're being divided by hatred. And we're not seeing people as people anymore. Faith is perfect knowledge. The perfect knowledge of the things you know that are true, but you don't see them. I know who we are, but I don't necessarily see it. You want to have faith and hope? You want to really change the world? Give me a minute. I'll show you how we do it. Next. Sponsor this half hour is My Patriot Supply. When life catches you off balance, how prepared will you be? You know, a lot of people think that this kind of stuff is just for catastrophic failure. It's crazy to have food supply. No, it's not crazy to have food supply. Quite honestly, I think it's crazy not to. It just adds added stress to your life. Have you ever been in a situation where you couldn't make ends meet? Have you ever been in that situation where you actually have to look at the money in your checkbook and say, okay, how do I afford everything I need to? What bill have you ever? All of us have been there.
Almost all of us have been in that.
Yeah, all of us have been there. I want you to call My Patriot Supply right now for $99, 4-week emergency food supply. That emergency can just be, I can't make ends meet. So you have a week's worth of food for your entire family, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, for $99. If you have a family of 4, everybody eats for $99 for a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all the snacks, all the juices, everything. Call 1-800-200-7163. Now, this is a 4-week emergency food supply for one person or a family of 4 for a week. Take the stress off. If something catastrophic happens, great. You're going to be set there as well. But take the stress off, even if it just is the stress of, I don't know where I'm going to be at the end of the month. $99. This is more than half off. 800-200-7163. 800-200-7163. You have members of your family who are just starting out. This is their first Christmas. Yeah, I know it's not sexy. This is one of the best presents you can give them. 1-800-200-7163 or go to preparewithglenn.com. That's preparewithglenn.com. And we found a battered women's shelter and found out the number of kids there and how old they were, et cetera, et cetera. And then we went shopping for them. And as we were shopping for them, it was really quite cool. 5 truckloads of toys for these kids. As we were shopping for them, we got the boys, the girls took the girls, and so Rafe and Tim and I went in the toy aisle. And, I mean, it was, okay, let's buy the things that we would have wanted. So I was over with the Star Wars thing with Rafe, and Tim was over with the Batman stuff. And we said to each other, I wish we knew these kids because,
It would have been helpful.
It would have been helpful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
However, I found out afterwards what the church had done, which I think is great. We bought them for the ages of the kids, but then we kept them all separate in the.
That's what we did too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you know how they did?
Yeah, and then it turns out all of it goes into like a warehouse, like a store, and then the moms all go shopping for whatever.
How great is that?
So the moms get what the kids
Moms
like.
get
so that's
what
great.
they think the kids want, or
So
they know the kids
we
want.
built a toy store for free for these moms in the battered shelter.
really cool.
It's a really cool idea.
Oh, it's a great idea. Great idea. And I don't know a single person that walked out of there, well, except for Lorelei, who was really didn't get it. She's my granddaughter. And
What is she, 2?
she's 3.
She's
and
3 already?
She did not get it at all.
Really?
She's like picking
thought
out
it was for
toys,
her.
and when we're bagging them up, she's, like, what kind of dirty trick is this, you mean people? She didn't understand the explanation on the way. But other than her,
Everybody else is pretty happy.
it restores you.
Yeah.
Charity is the way to hope and faith. And I'm concerned because my sister is both my sisters are like Martha Stewart on crack. And did you see the gingerbread house my sister made?
Yeah, the Harry Potter one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So she made Hogwarts as a gingerbread house, and it has the tables and the goblets and the pictures on the wall, everything on the inside. You can only see it through the tiny little door, but the good news is she's got a chandelier in there that actually lights.
Right, like there's internal lighting going on in the
Yeah.
gingerbread house.
Yeah, for the stained glass windows in the back, which is...
It looked nice.
Can you eat the thing? Can you eat it?
I would assume so. Yeah, I mean,
A lot of times
you
they
wouldn't want to eat the roof because she hand dyed all the pumpkin seeds for the shingles of the roof. So anyway,
way too much time on
what
it.
I'm saying is, we're crafty, but not like that, and the pressure is on.
Why is there pressure?
Why is there pressure?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Because my sister makes everything.
So what? Here's your room. Merry Christmas. You're staying with us. Don't worry about anything.
I don't have a hammer at my house. My sister, literally, I don't remember what it was, like a rocking chair or something. She was like, "Oh, I went out to the woods and I gathered a bunch of wood and made this. I just made this." And I'm thinking, open up the attachment. It's like a freaking rocking chair. Like you made it out of wood you collected in the woods. What kind of? Seriously, who does that?
Frontier women.
Frontier women.
There's something about, too, I think, and this is not necessarily your sister, but there's something about how the extreme effort for something that could be achieved more easily, that's like a genre of things that people, particularly on the internet, really enjoy.
Yeah, wait a minute. My brother milled his own lumber. One of these things doesn't belong. I swear I was adopted. My brother milled his own lumber on his own land and built his own house from scratch. Like, if I don't make it myself, I don't know if he had a pottery wheel and he made the toilet too. I don't know, but he made everything.
The other option is Zillow. You just go there, and there's a lot of houses.
I'm cut from that. I don't know how we grew up in the same house.
Yeah, I don't know either, because you couldn't do anything.
I can't do it. Literally, I don't have a hammer.
Though you have that quirky artistic side, too, where you like to sit around, like you make tables and you paint and all of these, for example, and now you didn't do any of the, work on this, but you've got a giant picture, for lack of a better term, of Abraham Lincoln in your office that's made out of 185,000 individual nails.
188,000.
188,000 individual nails that have been painted, and when you step back, you could see Abraham Lincoln in it. It's amazing. But, it's the type of thing that you could have just bought a picture of Abraham Lincoln if you really wanted one.
Yeah, but that's not cool.
Exactly. It's the story behind it. It's the effort is really the hook, right? And
no, my brother does it because he's cheap. My brother does it.
That's why they used to do it.
Yeah, my brother does it because he is the cheapest guy known to man. Like, he built his house because he's like, do you know how much lumber is on this land? All I have to do is cut down all these trees. I can build a house with all this lumber. And he did.
It's a great skill to have, though.
Oh, my gosh.
It is, especially
I can't visit anything.
It's a great skill to have. If it goes south like we are afraid that eventually one day it may, it's a good skill to have.
It is, although if it doesn't, it's not a good skill to have.
Right.
It's a waste of time.
It's like,
you know what? As I'm getting
melts down.
As I'm getting older, I'm mellowing so much more, and I am really starting to love to work with my hands. For the first time in my life, I'm painting all the time now. I'm painting all the time.
It's something that
a little
you
different
enjoy.
than milling your own.
No, I've talked to my son-in-law who's actually crafty like that. Can build things.
Oh yeah, he really is.
And I want to start. I can't believe I'm saying this. Buying tools and build a shop in my
I totally believe
garage
you'll buy tools.
I think so, too.
And I believe you'll have a shop built. I believe all the things you will do to prepare for the action you will not take.
Yes, absolutely.
I will tell you.
Nobody's got a shop like that.
I did buy an old Land Rover. Was it a Land Rover? What's a Toyota?
Yes.
Yeah, Land Rover.
Land Cruiser?
Land Cruiser, yeah. I bought an old Land Cruiser so my son and I could work on it. I opened up the hood on that thing. We crawled underneath it. I tried to teach him all this stuff. I got stuck on, besides.
What are you going to teach your son about working on a car?
Right.
What?
No.
Teach him stuff. What?
Well, the basic
Here's where
stuff
the
that
gas
I know.
goes, son. That's the only thing you can teach Rafe about
That is
car.
that's as far as we got. The point was,
What?
I was going to go in and I was going to teach him, and we were going to learn together how to fix a car. Well, then, I don't know anything besides that's the battery.
Right.
And that's the engine.
And that's where the gas goes.
And I think this is the axle, and maybe that's the drive
maybe
shaft.
on a really old Toyota, you could find where the oil goes.
Yeah, the oil, and maybe the oil filter.
I don't even know that.
See, that was the problem. I thought this is a useless skill now.
Yeah. Well,
Because, fixing your own furniture, being able to repair things, make things out of wood, that's good. Anything with your engine, there's nothing you can do. Wait a minute. Can you buy one of those engine diagnosis thing that you plug in and it tells you what's wrong with the car? And then if you had one of those, could you fix your own car?
No,
Possible.
I still couldn't.
that's the thing. The amount of time you'd spend learning how to do that, you could have repaired 1,000 cars with what you do well. That's what specialization in the economy is about.
There's a great book called The Millionaire Mentality. Have you ever read
Yes.
that? Great
That's
book.
not the millionaire mentality. It's the millionaire next door, isn't it?
I can't remember. I don't know. But there may be more than one book about millionaires. His deal is...
There might be.
His deal is, find somebody who can do these things and
millionaire
specialize on what you do best. And that's...
I think it's The Millionaire Mind and The Millionaire Next Door. Those two books both make that point of... And I learned this when I was in Philadelphia. Remember that room that my wife and I painted?
Yeah.
We had a dining room, and we painted it with red and, shades of red.
Looked
So
great.
It had stripes.
But it took a long time.
It took like a week, maybe 2 weeks. And
Took a
I
long
said to
time.
my wife about, an hour into it, this is stupid. What are we doing? And a guy came in, the painter came in because we were repainting the whole house. And the painter came in, and we thought this was a small job, so we could do it. And we had finished it by the time he came in, and he puts his paint stuff down in the foyer, and he looks at the dining room, and he said, "Who did that?" And I said, "We did." He said, "What'd you learn?" And I said, "To call you."
Right.
To call you.
Yep.
Because how much money could you make? You're not supposed to do, that's the millionaire mind. Yeah. You're not supposed to do the things that you're not good at. Pay an expert to do that. It'll do half the time. And if you look at your time literally as money.
And you're supposed to.
Yeah,
You're supposed to.
you should.
Time is money.
There's another book, The Rational Optimist, that goes through this as far as specialization in the economy. And they go back through all the history of it, back to like the invention of like tools. And what they show, and it's really amazing, is like, let's just say you're good at stuff, Glenn Beck, and Jeffy is bad at stuff, which we all know is obviously true. And there's two tasks that you can do. Even if Glenn is better at both tasks than Jeffy, the most efficient way to move forward and have the most work done is for you to do one of the tasks, Glenn, at your best of your ability, and Jeffy to learn as best he can the other one. And what happens is you are able to create, wealth in a way that's the most efficient possible with your task, and the excess of your work, instead of doing it for yourself, the second task, you use the excess of your work, the profit that you would make, and
To fix what Jeffy did?
and spend it on Jeffy or some other, peasant loser like Jeffy to do the actual work.
Oh, my gosh.
Well,
Listen
he's
to
not.
that.
I mean, I hate to insult peasants by comparing them to Jeffy. I apologize. But it's true. It's the most efficient way that work gets done. And we see this all the time. You mentioned cars. There are a lot of car companies that will tell you when you buy the car, don't attempt yourself to change the tire.
Right.
And if you listen to those people, when they sell you the car, you actually will help yourself in the long run.
Who is actually going to go out after they've been told? Specifically, don't try to change this tire because you'll do grave damage to the car. A, who would buy a car like that? B, who would go out in the middle of the night and change the tire?
Right. And then what would be the outcome of that?
What would
right?
be the consequence of
Now,
that?
see, that's the thing. And then the outcome of changing your tire when you probably shouldn't have done that.
Right.
Might be a $5,000 charge over just letting someone change the tire. possible. I mean, I don't know any.
You don't know anybody
specifically
like that. So you don't know anybody who is like driving, let's say, to work or something, and
had a flat,
and
then
tried
to change it and thought, I'm not waiting for an hour and a half.
Right, I'm not going to do that
because I can conceive of something like that.
I'm a man.
I'm a man. I know how to change my own tire.
And then as you jack it up,
the whole thing collapses on your rocker panel and also the side panel, and then all that has to be replaced.
Right,
$5,000.
But that is something you don't price in when you think, I need to do this work myself.
Right. Okay.
It's the amount of damage you will do.
But here's what bothers me. I think they're making cars like this just to keep us out.
I think that's probably true, especially with the engine.
They cover that engine. They tell you not to change the tire. I mean, change a tire? Of course we can do that. But no, not really, not so much. Not unless you know exactly where that jack needs to go now.
Talking to the mechanic, they're giving my car a tune-up and whatever. Talking to the mechanic.
Wait, I thought you and Ray were doing that.
Shut up. And I can't get into my car. Can't get in because the engine's sealed. So talking to the guy and so can you work on this yourself? And he's like, no, we don't fix anything anymore. We just replace it. There's nothing to fix anymore. If it goes bad, you just replace it. What?
Well, I mean, it's again, if it was more efficient,
I guess
to fix it, then people would fix it. You see this all the time. They do these mandatory recycling programs across the country. We must recycle. You have 19 different garbage cans out in front of your house and everything. And people don't want to do that. It's insane. It has to be mandatory because no one would do it otherwise. There's no benefit to people when it comes to this. And many studies have shown that it actually winds up being a negative economic consequence.
Costs the city a fortune to
because of this. Right. Because they, different trucks, different plants, all sorts of things to just separate your garbage. But giant industry, they recycle all the time. Giant steel plants and things like that, they reuse things all the time because it's efficient and it's a large-scale thing. So they will intentionally, not because it's mandatory, because they want to, they recycle materials all the time because it benefits their business and is more economically feasible. And when you have things where instead of forcing people to do them, they're just better, well, then people will wind up doing them. Mm-hmm. It's a really positive thing about...
I have to tell you, in recycling, it's getting too complex. Has anybody been to the new, I think it's Cinemark? Is it Cinemark?
Yes.
The movie theaters?
The movie theater that has about 8 different garbage cans.
Uh-huh.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Like, literally, it's like the tray, the straws, the cups, how many... I mean, literally, there are 5 different choices. And I'm like... Come on, guys! You're just putting them in 2 separate. There's not 5.
It's all going to the same.
I mean, it's going to the same chute. It's going to the same chute.
People wanting to prove that they, are doing something for the environment with no measurable effect.
Now, you're looking for that final gift, and if you haven't started yet, may I recommend Family Security. Now is a great time to get the Simply Safe Home Security Package for a limited time. $200 off Simply Safe's Defender Package. This has 17 security sensors, a panic button, a blaring siren to scare off would-be intruders, a wireless connection to authorities that will dispatch the police the minute something goes wrong, 24/7 monitoring for only $15 a month, and with Simply Safe, there's no long-term contract. Make sure your family is safe around the clock. You get $200 off at simplysafebeck.com. Offer ends very soon. Simplysafebeck.com. Do it now. $200 off your Defender Security Package. That makes the price of this home security $399. Now, that's quite a gift if you want to give that to somebody. But if you have a family that is just starting out, what a great Christmas gift that is. $399, and the monthly monitoring is $14.95 a month, and there's no contract. Go to simplysafebeck.com right now. It's all wireless, easy to install. Simplysafebeck.com. Go there now. We're just sitting here talking about it. Stu is just telling me about how poetry and art is dead.
Yeah.
I didn't.
They're both
I wasn't
They're
aware
dead
of
forms.
this.
Yeah, poetry sucks, and it's never been good. It's always been stupid. It was just something that
Wasn't
was
it on the
popular.
show a few weeks ago we discovered that, or was it on Pat and Stu?
I think it was on this
Poetry
show.
can be.
I think it was.
Edgar Allan Poe is unbelievable.
Well, but Edgar Allan Poe had nothing to compete with. His competition was the Black Plague. Right? Like people are like, oh, do I want the Black Plague or read a new poem? Oh, well, the poem wins in that one.
You're only about 200 to 300 years
There's plenty.
off.
There's plenty of. The point is, there was nothing good. Now that there are things that people actually want to do, poetry's dead. It's more used as limericks on Twitter than it is an actual art form anymore. And I think painting's going down the same general. It's a little bit slower because people like visuals a little more, but it's pretty much dead too. I hate to break this to you.
So what is it, just going to be photos? Or?
No, people will paint maybe for their own enjoyment, but it's not like something that...
You're saying famous painters.
Yeah, there's
Name one. Name a
While we're at
paint
the
every day. Give me 5 famous painters.
as we are at $80 million per piece of art.
Well, for the old guys.
The old crap. That's what I'm talking about.
Beck program.
Welcome to the program. We're going to find out very soon, maybe today, if Rex Tillerson is our new Secretary of State, former head of Exxon, which that shouldn't be a problem for anybody on the left. My problem is he received the highest non-citizen award that Russia can give out as a friend of Russia. We'll talk about that coming up in just a second. And I also want to talk to you a little bit about Christmas. Christmas, for a lot of people, is the best time of the year. Sometimes it is the hardest time of the year. Max Lucado, friend of the show, has written a new book, Because of Bethlehem. We talk to him right now. Max Lucado is a pastor in San Antonio and an author. 120 million books sold, and people are still reading. Max Lucado has a new book called Because of Bethlehem, and also the Because of Bethlehem Christmas coloring book, which I think is fantastic. Pat had never even heard of an adult coloring book and has all of the typical questions that I had when I first found out that we were making coloring books for adults, but now I love them. Max is here with us now. Max, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Merry Christmas to you, and thanks for letting me be on your program.
You bet. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Christmas from the eyes of people that don't necessarily find this the most wonderful time of the year. I know people who I would generally consider happy people, and I got an email from one of them the other day, said, Christmas is the worst time of the year for me. It is so hard, and some of it is based on things that happen, and some of them is based on missed opportunities. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, and as a pastor, I meet people like that quite often. In between church services, likely someone will come up and say, this is really a tough December for me. And when I ask why or explore why, oftentimes it's something that happened this year. So this is the first Christmas since this, the funeral, the first Christmas since the divorce, or the first Christmas since the job layoff. And so what they would expect to be a happy season feels even heavier. And you're absolutely right. For some people, Christmas is a reminder of what they never received, and they assume or feel that everyone else did. Maybe a healthy family or wonderful parents or a great childhood. And so Christmas can be a reminder to them of pain, and consequently they just kind of slug through December and try to get it over with.
And if you don't have a good family, or if you, particularly people who didn't have a good dad, how do I look at, God as a father and a loving father when I don't even know what that even means?
Yeah, and it requires some pretty exact discipline on the part of somebody whose father was anything but a father. And when they read in the Bible that God is our heavenly Father, and that conjures up images of betrayal or abuse or abandonment, it's difficult. But I have discovered this, Glenn, that there are those who say, I'm going to envision the perfect father. And I'm not going to blame God for my father's failure, my earthly father or biological father's failure, but I'm going to trust God that he can reveal to me the image of the perfect father. And I'm going to let Scripture, let the stories of the Bible tell me who my heavenly Father is. And some of the people I know who have the most vibrant faith are those who have discovered that God can be the perfect father to them. And they make that, it's kind of a mental switch. They say, okay, I wasn't, for whatever reason, blessed with a good earthly dad, but I'm not going to let that slow me down. That is what it is. I'm going to press into God, and I'm going to see what Scripture says about the kind of father he is, and I'm going to begin relating to him in that fashion.
I will tell you that Pat said to me at one point to consider, he said, it'll change your life. Consider God an actual dad. Envision him as an actual dad. And I have, now when I read scriptures, I know how I'm supposed to be a dad because I can see him as a dad. I can see how he is as a parent. He doesn't put up with crap after a long fuse, but he never punishes in a bad way. He lets you feel your consequences.
Absolutely.
And he does it for your own good.
He does. And I think that we are wired as human beings to need a father. We are wired to need a father. That's just the way we are built. That's why the family unit is so important, and that's why the breakdown of fatherhood in culture is such a disaster. But it's not fatal. It's not fatal. We believe in a sovereign, good God who can redeem the most difficult circumstances. And it's worthy of note that when Jesus taught us to pray, he said, pray like this, Our Father who art in heaven. That's how he taught us to pray. We relate to God, yes, as a king, yes, as a creator, but we can relate to him as our Father. And it's often pointed out that the way Jesus said that was the word our Abba, A-B-B-A. It was a tender colloquial term like Papa or Daddy. I don't think anybody is ever so successful, sophisticated, or important that they don't need a heavenly Father with whom they can relate as a daddy. That sense of being able to crawl up in a father's lap and say, I'm tired, I need help, I need strength. We were made, Glenn, I think we were made to receive that.
Tell me about the book Because of Bethlehem. I'm just reading here, and I love this. Most of the players in the Christmas drama inspire us with our faith. This is about halfway through. Mary, who had great courage, Joseph, who was obedient, the shepherds who came quickly and worshipped willingly, the wise men who traveled far and gave generously. Most of the characters in Bethlehem drama behaved like heroes, but there was also one who played a role of a villain. Why is this important?
It is important. King Herod, what a story. Here's a king who was 10 miles from Bethlehem, who had wise men come from a distant country saying that they perceived through the stars that something miraculous was happening, and it could be in the vicinity of where King Herod was. So he consults with his religious leaders. His religious leaders say, well, there is a prophecy in the Bible that says that the king will be born in Bethlehem. And I think King Herod was so power hungry, so jealous, that he couldn't bring himself to make the 10-mile hike to Bethlehem to see who this might be. And as we know, he actually ended up trying to kill the newborn Jesus because he tried to slaughter all the children in Bethlehem. He's really a picture. In the book Because of Bethlehem, I look at some of these characters and what they teach us, and I think that Herod is the picture of the man who was consumed by jealousy, by a lust for power, and how it just destroyed him, and how it prevented him from making what could have been a life-changing discovery in his life. And so in the book, I look at some of these characters like Herod or Joseph or Mary, asking, what can they teach us this Christmas? What can they teach us? And I think he serves as a warning that we shouldn't let ourselves get so arrogant and prideful that we don't feel the need to take moments to explore what supernatural interventions God might be doing right next door to us.
You're not making these guys into movie stars. At one point towards the end, you write, Hollywood recast the Christmas story. Joseph's collar is way too blue. Mary is green from inexperience. The couple's star power doesn't match the bill. Too obscure, too simple. Story warrants some headliners. Square-jawed Joseph, somebody like George Clooney. Mary needs a beauty mark and glistening teeth. Angelina Jolie-ish. What about the shepherds? Do they sing? If so, can we get Bono? I watched for the very first time, the Nativity Story, I think. Came out about 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I was struck by how they cast everybody as simple, very young, it seemed very, very real to me. And when you cast the story that way, you really appreciate what Mary and I think especially Joseph did.
It's just a beautiful story, isn't it, Glenn? And it's so good for our spirit. I think it's good for our country right now, coming out of this difficult election, to let the Christmas story remind us that God loves every person, and he can use the simplest person. I can't imagine a person more simple than Mary. You know, she lived in a remote part of a remote country on the margin of the Roman Empire, and yet she would be entrusted with what we Christians believe is the greatest miracle of all, and that is to bring God into the world. And then there's Joseph. I mean, he apparently was a good guy, but he was a normal guy. He probably wouldn't have gone to the equivalent of an Ivy League college or been considered for Secretary of State or anything. He was just a regular old Joe. He was a Joseph. And yet God takes these normal folk like you and me, and he says, just trust me. I can do a miracle for you. I can do a miracle in you. I can do miracles with you. And I think we need this reminder. You know, as an increasingly secular society, we miss out on the surprises of God. We live with a mentality that says that all that exists is what we can hear or touch or see. But stories like Christmas remind us that Almighty God, is up to something really good. And he's bringing it about in the right way, and he's using regular folk like us to accomplish his purpose. And that's a refreshing reminder.
I know we don't know this, but in your opinion as a man, how much of Mary and Joseph's life was spent, do you think, thinking, I don't know, maybe that was just a dream. I mean, you know what? Because there were people. How much of their life was spent questioning whether or not this was true? Because they were still cleaning dirty diapers and everything else. I mean, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And we remember that right at the core of the Christian gospel is the Immaculate Conception, of Mary. And I believe it. I do. I know people dismiss it and disregard it, but I believe it. And if it is true, then Mary knew it was a miracle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she would have known.
Mary knew. Mary didn't have as much of a problem as Joseph did.
Joseph could have struggled. He could have. I feel like the angelic appearances to Joseph, and then just the testimony, the loyalty of his precious Mary, maybe the appearance when they took Jesus to have him set apart in the temple at the age of 8 days, and he had that encounter with the people in the temple that said, now something's going on here, something special. There's no doubt he would have struggled. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, because we've never had angels appear to us, most of us, but we've all had moments where somebody has said, boy, something is special. And then there's times years later that you're like, I don't know. You get lost, and you're like, I just don't know anymore. They are remarkable people. Because they were. The name of the book is Because of Bethlehem, Love is Born, Hope is Here. Max Lucado is our guest. He also has a Christmas coloring book out, which I didn't understand when I first saw them about 4 years ago. I'm like, oh, come on, are we really dumbing down? Adults need to color. I think it is one of the most relaxing and mind-cleansing things you can do. But Max, I appreciate it, and Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Merry Christmas to you, Glenn. All the very best.
Thank you very much. Max Lucado, again, the name of the book is Because of Bethlehem.
While we're on faith, can I give you a couple of kind of amazing stats?
Yes.
That just came out. What is the so in 1996, 8% of people identified as religiously without affiliation. Only 8%.
1996?
1996. Last 20 years, it's gone from 8% to 21%.
Oh, my gosh.
So that's a huge increase from 8 to 21. The additional one, which is even more stunning to me, in 2011, 30% of evangelicals said someone who commits immoral acts could fulfill their office could fill their duties in office. You know, it was kind of the Bill Clinton argument, right? Like, if you can't have a good personal life, you can't do your job.
2011.
It was 30% of evangelicals. 2016, 76%. From 30 to 76% in 5 years.
That's how it happened, right? That's how this happened.
And I think
how everybody jumped on the train.
Remember what did I say? What did I say the first?
I think changed that. I mean,
what did I say the first hour? Faith, hope, and charity. They're all being taken down.
That's incredible.
We have to hold tight. The world. I can't tell you how clear I am on Paulina and what she said to me in Auschwitz. That the world, the righteous didn't suddenly become righteous. They just refused to go over the cliff with the rest of humanity. Humanity is going over a cliff, gang. Going over a cliff. We have to stand firm in our principles. And principles are hard to find. Let me tell you about Goldline. Principles are hard to find because everybody at the highest levels are violating them. What's happening at the Federal Reserve right now has never been done before in human history. At no time has anyone printed as much money as the United States of America has done. We have violated every monetary law in existence. This week, Federal Reserve, economists expect the Fed to raise interest rates for the first time in a year. Some expect inflation to pick up on its own. I don't know what's going to happen. If they start raising interest rates, it should prove to be interesting. I would ask that you don't listen to me, you don't listen to anybody else. You listen to your gut, and you do your own homework. Goldline is the exclusive dealer for the first encapsulated square coin called the legal tender unit. It's important for all kinds of reasons, but also as an investment, and now is the time to buy gold or silver. Buy with confidence with their price guaranteed program. You can act now and ensure that you acquire the special gold bullion units available exclusively from Goldline. And for select purchases, you can actually basically ensure them that whatever you paid this year, next year, if the price is up, you can buy more at the lower price. If the price is down, you buy. You can make up that difference in gold. Only Goldline does this. Read their important risk information and find out if gold or silver is right for you. 1-866-GOLDLINE. 1-866-GOLDLINE or goldline.com. Today, this afternoon.
Yeah, pretty important stuff. The Christmas holiday is here. And this Friday, the season finale of The Wonderful World of Stu. We will try to lift people's spirits with a new Christmas movie. And you might say, wait a minute, it's a Christmas movie. How can you be shooting parts for it on the Monday of the week it airs? That's a really good question that we're not going to know.
Well, I was going to ask that question.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's important. I mean, why are you being critical of Christmas?
Well, what I was wondering was the quality of a movie that shoots on Monday for an air date on Friday.
Well, to be fair, most of it was shot last week. So, I mean, it's pretty high quality.
So double the amount of time.
Double the time.
Right. Now, the first movie, in air quotes, that you made was called The Christmas Twist.
Oh, yeah. Huge hit.
Classic.
Which I may say, I do believe has been ripped off from this network.
Yes.
For real.
For real. This is a real deal. It's a Hallmark movie now.
It's called The Christmas Cookie.
Yes.
It's almost
Christmas cookies. It's the same thing.
It's the exact same plot almost.
It's unbelievable.
It's got to be one of the first times someone made a real movie out of a parody. It's like the exact reverse of how it's normally done.
I mean, we're glad they did it. That's fine.
Oh, thrilled.
We're not threatening lawsuits. We just want them to fess up. That's all we want.
Most so we can give them a hug. I love the idea that they did it.
Right. Okay. So what the Christmas twist was a cookie. A girl makes this cookie. She's got her own cookie store. It's not going anywhere. The boyfriend is this big business guy and just railroads.
Wants her to sell the store. She doesn't want it because it's her dream. And it plays out in has every Lifetime or Hallmark movie plays out.
They're mocking the Hallmark movies, and somebody went and took the Lifetime movie deal and said, we're going to make this less jokey about how bad these movies are and make a bad movie based on Stu's bad movie.
Where it happened.
Yeah. Today we're not filming the Christmas twist, which is the Christmas cookie. This is your follow-up movie.
Yeah, it's unrelated. It's making a sequel out of such a holiday classic as a Christmas twist, I think is problematic in many ways, at least until we need the money. So this is a different movie. It's Christmas themed, obviously.
Right,
it's
sure.
Still a
heartwarming Christmas. Now, it was originally scheduled for me to shoot this
last Tuesday.
on the stages. Last
Monday or Tuesday? When was Nightline here?
I did.
It was initially scheduled for you to shoot on the day that Nightline was here, and I said, you might want to move that. And they said, well, what about the next day? And I said, when Samantha Bee is here? No, he's not taping on either of those days.
But it's a Christmas theme. What is the name of this?
The name of the movie?
Yeah.
It's about Christmas. It's got Christmas in the title.
What is the Christmas?
People know, they're interested, like right away.
The Christmas house, the Christmas box, the Christmas present.
Icicle?
The what?
Christmas icicle.
The Christmas icicle?
Close, yeah, that's close. It's close to that feel.
The Christmas...
the working title, I mean, obviously the whole thing's not even shot yet.
Yeah.
But, it's the Christmas icicle.
Icicle?
Mm-hmm. The Christmas ISIS.
Misspell ISIS?
What exactly is the... What am I getting myself into for this movie of the week?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's going to last for generations, but
yes.
It's about a young man, entrepreneurial, looking for employment in the industry, looking for some seasonal employment.
Sure.
And gets interviewed at a place that makes reindeer car antlers. You know the reindeer car antlers that they make? You see those on cars from time to time.
Well, did you shoot that actually at the factory?
It was a set.
All right.
Look, it's the theater of the mind, except you're seeing it. He may have worked for a company called ISIS in his previous job.
Okay. So is it the ISIS?
So ISIS, that's the name of the company, Icicle. It kind of fits in with the Christmas theme because there's icicles at Christmas time because it's cold. When water goes below 32 degrees.
I got the icicle part. I'm looking for the ISIS part.
Oh, okay. You're asking about that. Yeah, well, he has different goals than some of the other employees that work there.
Okay.
And he tries to work through those goals. It's an interesting way of how different cultures come together around Christmas to unite. And
it usually is like there's a bad guy and then there's a sweet girl that has been, crushed with or a kid that has been crushed by the Christmas dream being crushed, and then there's miraculous ending, and that's usually what happens.
I think there is a miraculous ending, first of all. I would say definitely there's a miraculous ending, and I would say...
Would that miraculous ending involve me continuing to have a job after letting this air on the network?
Well, look, I can't predict the future, obviously. I mean, if this... But I mean, look, if you can't get behind a story about different cultures coming together around the most holy of holidays, I don't see how. Right. And for both sides of this, they both are chasing what they believe Christmas should be all about, and that's at both sides of the equation. And I think that is what's really important around this.
You're selling me this as a we can all get behind this.
Look,
would it be safer for me to say we can all get behind this, and some should get behind something big and sturdy?
It might be if you were thinking about getting some personal protection. Now might be
might be the time. Okay, all right, and that airs this Friday.
Yes, assuming you actually shoot your part today.
May I ask, do I have to wear a beard?
Would you like to wear a beard?
No, I'm just asking. And would it be a white beard, or would it definitely not be a white beard?
Look,
You haven't even decided if you're going to wear a beard yet. Why
here's
not?
the thing.
I'm just wondering if the part I'm playing, because I haven't even read the part yet.
No, you don't need to read it. You're going to see it. It'll be on the property when you get on set.
So when I see it and I get into makeup, am I going to be am I a jolly old elf, or am I a bearded man for an entirely different reason?
Well, first of all, when it comes to the color of the beard, I don't see color. I mean, that's not how I am.
All right.
Okay, I'm not that kind of person.
Okay.
But I mean,
Okay, we're going to leave it at that. We'll see it on Friday.
yes,
Christmas icicle.
Icicle. The Christmas. Pat is in it, joined by Pat Gray, a very important part. Jeff Fisher also appears.
Does he play the thing that I should crawl behind?
No, he's.
Shield of sort?
He could be a human shield. He could be a human shield.
Okay. All right. Good. That sounds
This
like
one's going to be probably even more classic than the Christmas twist was. Right?
Which I would
already been
like
copied by
evidence
Hallmark.
tomorrow, because you both are convinced. I have not seen the Hallmark movie or the Lifetime movie, but I would
Christmas
like
cookie?
to see the Christmas movie, because
Oh, that is.
everybody who's seen it and has
Pretty
seen the
unbelievable.
Christmas
Oh, my God.
twist say it is the same
It's the same
story.
plot. It's really the same plot. It's, I mean, exactly the same, just done in a serious way when we were playing it for comedy. Yeah, that's all it is. I just want them to admit it. Of course, there's also another one at Hallmark I just saw over the weekend, and I've never seen this in its entirety. But it's another one where the girl owns a shop, only it's not a cookie shop. It's an antique. I think it's been in her family for generations.
Yeah, usually has.
It was handed down from her grandfather to her father, I think, and then from her father to her. And it means so much to her.
And she's struggling.
And she's struggling. Of course,
Right.
she's
She's going to
struggling.
lose it.
Well, and there's a guy who's trying to buy the entire strip mall.
Oh, no, I bet he's good looking.
I don't know what he looks like, but her boyfriend is the one who's trying to negotiate the sale for her. Okay, the rich boyfriend.
Okay.
Anyway, she's going
So
to
if
meet
he's
the
a rich boyfriend, why doesn't he just save the shop and just say, don't worry about struggling?
No, that's unclear to me. I
Right.
think he wants her to have something of hers. I don't think he wants
okay.
to completely take care. He just wants to do the deal for her, and then it's really her deal.
He's a little bit on the
know?
greedy side.
A little on the greedy
Sometimes
side.
he's losing sight of maybe the holiday.
A little on the snarky side.
Oh,
He's
no.
not the warm, fuzzy boyfriend you'd maybe like to
He's
see.
not like and I don't mean to talk down to these movies,
Mm-hmm.
like the stereotypical kind of Scrooge character, is he?
I don't think he's along the lines of Scrooge. He's just less Christmassy than maybe
Yeah.
you'd like for her.
Okay.
Sometimes you lose sight.
He sends her to his hometown to meet his family, which she's never met before. And at the airport, her luggage gets lost.
Oh, no.
And as she's looking for her luggage, she miraculously runs into
An old boyfriend?
her future brother-in-law. Okay, her fiance's brother is
boy.
there to pick her up at the airport. He brings her home.
Is he a nice guy?
They spend several days together.
And he's like really father.
Oh, he's a wonderful guy. No,
yeah.
this is a really good, handsome guy.
Oh, boy.
This guy's really into Christmas. He's got a family super into Christmas.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Finally, the fiance comes home. Oh, it's not her fiance. It was a different family with the same exact name as the family she was hoping to be with for Christmas.
Wait a minute.
What?
Hold on just a second. In this small town,
It's a small town.
they were
There are
the
two families with the
same names,
Apparently, the brothers had the same name.
and they were both getting married at the same time.
Apparently, both fiancés were coming to the house.
Oh my gosh! What happened to the other fiance?
the other
She's
fiancé,
still at the.
when the brother comes home and she realizes, I don't know who this guy is. Well, then obviously she calls the fiancé and he's on his way, and so she leaves the house. And she goes, I mean, it's only a couple blocks away to the other house.
I did see this one.
You did see this one?
Oh my gosh, this sounds really good.
Really good.
They're all good.
She goes to the other house.
We've got to do one
To
next
meet the-
year.
we
We got to
have
really.
Yeah, we have to do
Even if we have to
a
shut
full length.
down, I don't know, the entire TV division and just spend a year on that.
I mean, how
we have to
hard can it be? These are so preposterous.
Whoa.
Came up with 19.
I mean, so good, and they put you in the spirit.
Right.
So she goes to the other family who she's supposed to be with, and of course, none of them are into the holiday.
It's the exact opposite.
It's the exact opposite. They're busy with work.
We have our lives to
They don't even spend time together in the same room necessarily. They're off doing their own thing.
Right.
She finally brings them together for a game where they tell each other what they like about each other, but the things they like about one another are so superficial. She can't abide it. She can't abide it. And then the last straw is when the fiancé boyfriend says, I got a surprise for you. You're a millionaire. And then he goes and explains it to her privately in the room. He has worked the deal out to sell her shop to the guy who wants to buy her strip mall for $3.5 million. Now she's
She'll be set for life.
But she doesn't
How
want that.
dare he?
Right.
She doesn't
want
want
that.
that deal.
Right. She wants the
not
other guy
about
and
money.
the other family.
It's not about money. That's right.
Now, the other guy and the other family, what would really be special is if their fiance, his fiance, had met the other family and kind of fell in love, maybe this is a sequel, with the other guy.
That would be kind of cool.
And she fell in love, so it was like a Christmas wife swap.
Yeah, I think it is one of Jeffy's movies.
That would probably be a bad name for it, but
Probably
like,
would be. Christmas wife swap doesn't sound very Christmassy.
Or the Christmas twist. Just saying. All right. Here's our sponsor this half hour, LifeLock. Officials are warning of increased identity theft as we move through this holiday season. Are you prepared? Well, the good thing is, we know absolutely positively Russia is not targeting us. Aren't you guys glad to hear that?
I'm glad.
Do we? Because it seems like the intelligence agencies,
Only 17 of them.
they seem to be all agreeing on that it happened, but not quite
only-
agreeing on the reason for it.
But only 17 of them. We have our president-elect who says none of this is happening.
I will say it is a little frustrating to hear the media touting how sure we are on intelligence after them berating every person who thought the Iraq intelligence was legitimate. And then we got Bush lied. They died for multiple years. You can't just trust intelligence. Now we're supposed to trust intelligence. I can't keep track of the way these guys flip sides of these things. But yes, it is ridiculous. We should obviously take that really seriously. When Russia's clearly trying to influence our...
I would just like to point out, I believe Ted Kennedy, back in the 80s, wanted Russia to interfere with our election. Didn't he? Didn't he? He was so afraid that our relationship that he went over and wanted Russia to get involved in our politics. Look that up. I think that's what it was. Now, of course, I mean, it'd be treasonous to do that. But when Ted Kennedy did, it was okay. And now, of course, it's the worst thing ever. Anyway, identity theft, fastest growing crime in America. Identity thieves use your information to pretend that they're you. They buy the things on your credit card, they liquidate your bank accounts, and even get your retirement funds. That's why I have LifeLock, and Pat and I both have LifeLock. We're members, and we've had these phone calls. If they find something going on, somebody opening an account, using our identity someplace, you get a phone call, you get an email alert, and you have a live human being on the other end, and you say, no, that's not me. And the best thing is they help you clean it up. They have a U.S.-based team that helps you clean these things up. And right now you get a 15% discount on your membership. Call lifelock.com, 1-800-440-4936. Use the promo code BECK15. You're going to save 15% on your membership. BECK15. Sale ends October 31st. Promo code BECK15, 1-800-440-4936. That's 1-800-440-4936. Peter is watching these Hallmark specials and Lifetime special. Hello, Peter. Welcome to the Glenn Beck program.
How are you?
Hi, Peter.
Good morning.
Morning. Go ahead.
Yes, my wife and I started doing this about 5 or 6 years ago, and we watched these things. Some of them are just absolutely horrible.
Wait a second. Whoa.
Okay, 95% of them are actually absolutely horrible.
Whoa.
They get to the first commercial break.
Yeah.
If they don't make it to the first commercial break, we just move on because there's 9 other ones on the TiVo ready to go.
Yep.
Yes, we do TiVo so we don't have to watch the commercial. And we just kind of, I just had a knee surgery, so all weekend long I had my leg up, and we just watched cheese after cheese after cheese. We just call it Christmas cheese.
You know, I have to tell you, there's a huge market for this.
That's why they do 19 a year.
Hallmark added a channel this year.
Yeah.
The marketing, the commercials is definitely to a different demographic. It's definitely an older demographic it's going to.
But they're just so good. And like, I love how, and you could tell it's towards older people that I think they believe can't, like, follow the scripts or follow the plots. For example, like Christmas Cookie is a good example of this.
5 minutes to write one of these shows.
Yeah, it's
literally.
Christmas Cookie is a good example of this.
Peter.
To make sure you understand what's going on, they name the town where the Christmas Cookie factory is Christmas Jar. Okay, so you know this is the Christmassy town. Okay. On top of that, they named the evil food company, the national food company that's coming in to buy the Christmas. They named that company National Foods. Okay, just so you're 100% sure you understand the dynamic here. Then there's an exchange at the end where, like, the woman is finally, like, getting she's getting the man, and they're coming together and finally having this relationship as you expect.
It's always the CEO that she's in love with or thinks she's in love with, and about to
from
get
minute
married,
one. From minute one, you know this is going to happen. It ends.
Thank you, Peter.
And you know the first boyfriend will never be the one she winds up with.
Right, and so he says, "Did you get what you wanted this Christmas?" And she replies, "I did. More Christmases just like this.
Wait.
With you." Like, we got it. We didn't need to explain it 3 different ways. We understand they're together.
Hello, America, and welcome to the program. Lots to talk to you about today. Want to talk a little bit about Christmas shopping, Christmas traditions. Also, a little more about fake news. The new Secretary of State could be the former president of Exxon. We'll talk about that. And what the Fed is planning on doing this week could affect your bank account in a big way, possibly. Chris Martenson from Peak Prosperity joins us right now. Well, as I'm reading the news, China is being negotiated. I mean, I want to put the good spin on this. Donald Trump is obviously negotiating with China, and China has responded saying it's the one China policy will not be a part of any negotiation. And if you want to threaten us with that, all negotiations and future partnership will be over. They're taking a hardline stand, and so is Donald Trump. It's kind of a white knuckle kind of thing, quite honestly. Russia is now our new best friend, and the Russian ruble is going through the roof. Oil is starting to go up, and this week we are expecting the Fed to raise interest rates. And Chris Martenson is here. He is with peakprosperity.com. He is a guy who I think really understands the economy and understands the history of the currency war and the gold standard and trade, and can kind of help explain, because I think we're going to need a real basis of history and knowledge to be able to talk our friends down from a crazy tree in the coming months and years. Chris, welcome to the program. How are you?
Glenn, I'm doing very well. It's a real pleasure to be back with you and all your listeners.
So tell me, Chris, what you're thinking the Fed is going to do this week and how it's going to affect us.
Well, they're going to have to raise rates because they're behind the curve here. The Fed cares about their credibility as much as anything. Remember, we have a lot of academics sort of at the helm in the Fed, and of course, to them, credibility is like the most important thing to preserve. So they have to raise, and it's a very weird environment to be raising rates in. It's certainly created a lot of boost to the dollar. The dollar's strengthened a lot lately, but we're seeing a lot of strengthening in the price of oil as well, and a lot of signs, Glenn, of weakening in the overall global economy, the stock market notwithstanding. The trade data is looking iffy.
Okay, so if we raise the interest rates, that will boost the dollar. And if we boost the dollar, that actually hurts the job front at home and hurts prices at home, right?
Well, yes, except for the prices at home. Typically, if the dollar's stronger, we'd be able to buy, BMWs cheaper.
Okay.
So we have that side. But a rising dollar is not good for corporate profits in the United States. A little over 40% of all revenues from U.S. companies are derived not in the United States, from overseas. So
and it makes it harder for other countries to buy our products because our dollar is stronger, and them coming over here and buying our products it's more expensive.
Right. So typically what happens when your currency gets stronger, your trade, your exports go down, and your imports start to go up. Because you can afford more from other people, they can afford less of your stuff. That is the substance of the charge that Donald Trump has put against China, is that they're a currency manipulator, by which he means they're keeping their currency much weaker than it should be, because if the Chinese currency strengthened, then their exports would slow down, their imports would rise. That would help to balance things. So right. That's his charge there.
And it would be good if we didn't have an imbalance in everything else, like what it costs to employ people here in America. If we could even get close on that level with China, which we could never. They employ slaves. But it's good for the person that's walking into Walmart and buying their stuff for the Chinese dollar to be, or the Chinese yuan to be low and have them devalue. But it's really bad on jobs because they're not buying any of our stuff.
Very little of it.
So it's a balance. This is what I'm trying to get to is trade and the devaluing or the raising of interest rates, especially in an economy as fragile as ours is really a very nuanced and delicate dance. And you play it wrong and the thing spirals out of control.
Well, that's exactly right. And this should be termed, I think, as much as anything, the age of imbalances. So we're talking about an imbalance of trade between China and the United States, but there are similar imbalances that exist within the Eurozone, with Italy needing a lot more money than it's got, and Germany sort of providing it, and then, air quotes here, balancing it out by creating these massive imbalances in their central banking system inside the country. These things have all been building for a really long time, Glenn. And I think if we wanted to put our finger on something, we would say August 15th, 1971, when the United States abandoned the gold standard for the world, that's really where all of this started. And these imbalances are enormous now.
Well, that's when we all decided we wanted a life we couldn't afford. So the United States did that. But we convinced the rest of the world that we'll continue to buy your stuff, so it'll be good for you. But we all said, all of us, we want more stuff than we can afford if we base our dollar or our currencies on gold. Is that accurate?
It is, because gold provides a set of restraints that you just can't get around. And if you can't get around those restraints, well, sometimes you get to live beyond your means, but very soon thereafter, you have to live below your means. The world collectively kind of said, we don't like that below our means part. How can we just forever live above our means? That's how these imbalances got started. And it's a very human thing, Glenn. We've seen this so many times in history, and here we are again.
So we are worried now if the Fed raises the interest rates, that would indicate that they are worried more about inflation than deflation. And deflation is bad because everything is worthless and becomes so cheap. You would think that this is really good, but I'm trying to figure out why it is really bad, and it is. Why is deflation something that they're trying to stay away from at the Fed?
Well, this is a more subtle argument because, the way it's presented to us in the newspapers is that inflation is rising prices and deflation is falling prices. And I can't find anybody who says, well, what's wrong with falling prices? I love buying stuff cheaper, right?
Unless you're selling your house.
Well, unless you're selling your house, of course.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you're buying a house, you'd prefer to buy one that's cheaper rather than more expensive. So everybody I talk to says, look, I like falling prices. That's not what the Fed is targeting when it's worried about deflation. They have a different thing they're worried about where prices rising or falling are the symptoms, but the cause is what they're concerned about. And the cause is either our credit markets are expanding or they're contracting. When they're expanding, which gives us inflation, everything kind of works. Governments can continue to run deficits and big banks can do crazy, dumb things, and it all seems to work out. The opposite, though, Glenn, when credit is falling, that's also known as 2009 in the United States. It is deeply scary. What works in forward doesn't work at all in reverse. The whole system shudders and threatens to collapse. It's a really scary moment. So we have a system that either expands...
Wait. Is that because what I have as collateral is no longer worth as much, so I can't get credit, or why is that?
Well, let's take a simple example. We just have a bank, you and I, and all we're doing is making real estate loans. And we're taking in $1 and basically loaning $9 more back out because that's how our system operates. And we loan those $9 out to somebody who's bought a house. And if that house goes up in value, that person will be able to sell that house, service that mortgage before they do, and maybe buy a bigger house, and we'll loan them $9 more. And that expanding's easy. But as soon as that person can't sell that house for what we've loaned the money to them to, then all they have to lose is $1 out of that $9 that we loan them, and our entire capital stock of our business, our bank, is now wiped out. So you can't have even tiny, tiny contractions in the credit system without really impairing and sometimes destroying the banking system itself. And that's what the Fed cares about. Because let's remember, the Federal Reserve is not really federal. It's a private entity. It's got a charter from the U.S. government, and it operates a very nice monopoly. But its first set of clients always is the banks. So if the banking system's happy and expanding, the Fed's happy.
Okay, so they're not worried about deflation. They're worried about the bank. But by doing what they've done, they are throwing caution to the wind by printing $7 trillion worth of currency, never been done before in the history of the world, and expecting that hyperinflation won't happen. How can we have printed that much money and not had the problem of the Weimar Republic? What's the difference?
The difference is that today we have these really so-called robust financial markets. So I was just at a wealth conference on Monday of last week, and that question was asked, hey, where's this inflation? Well, it's in the financial markets. We see highly, highly inflated stock and bond markets. We see inflated real estate markets, especially on the top end. Now, Glenn, who got that money when the Fed printed all those trillions? Well, it kind of went to the upper 0.1%. So guess what? Buying a Gulfstream 650 is a very expensive proposition, high-end art, very large diamonds. These things all went up extraordinarily in price, so we have seen the beginnings of inflation. It just didn't show up in eggs and milk this time because the Fed didn't print and give it to people. They printed and gave it to a financial system.
So is that a savior for us?
Well, I think it's provided temporary appearance of relief. But when those rich people, when those concentrations of money decide, I don't want another Gulfstream 650, I'm worried about the value of the currency, all of that currency rushes through what are very tiny little doors trying to get into real stuff again and away from paper stuff.
And that's why real estate, that's why art, I've looked at the art. We just sold, I think, one of the most expensive paintings ever. Again, was like $85 million for one piece of art. And I explain that as the people at the very top have so much money, they don't know what to do with it. They know that everything is overvalued, but it's like looking at a bill at a very nice restaurant that didn't have any prices on the menu, and you're looking at the bill and you're thinking, how the hell did we get here? Well, I've got to make the broccoli now $35 a head because I've already priced the meat so far out that the broccoli is looking like a deal. And so the art is looking like a deal even at $85 million compared to where everything else is overpriced. Is that accurate, do you think?
It is. It's what happens when too much money is printed and put into a market. Things get crazy priced. And we saw that for tulips in the 1600s in Holland, and we've seen it with pieces of swampland in Florida. We've seen it over and over again. And the bubbles always have the same self-reinforcing mental map on the way up. It makes sense. People are like, well, the last guy paid $79 million. I paid $85. Somebody surely is going to pay me $100 million for this piece of art. That's all self-reinforcing on the way up, and we don't know why, but eventually there's a pin that bubble finds, and when it bursts, then you discover what the true value of things is, and
Chris,
things go down very quickly at that
You
point.
talk to people in your business. You talk to people, and I have. This is the reason why you work for me on these things now, because I couldn't find somebody like you. Everybody in your business will say, we have systems now, and it's not going to be that way, and they don't have to worry about those things. No one will tell you what you're saying to me, that this is going to burst and it's going to be ugly.
Well, if it's not going to burst, we have to believe in the four most dangerous words in human investing history, which is this time it's different. It's not different. It's never different. I'm seeing the exact same psychology, rationalizations, post-facto rationalizations that people make. Oh, here's why we had this Trump rally. To me, it's much easier to understand where we are if you see that we've got a very scared set of central planners. They've worked themselves into a multi-decade corner. They don't know what to do, so they print. And you can find this story in Roman times. You can find it in the first paper money in China. You can find it all through history, and it boils down to this, Glenn. It's very simple. Humans would much rather take a little risk today instead of some pain today in the hopes that things turn out better in the future. We always go down the same path. Real quick, I only have 30 seconds.
Are we going to see a hyperinflation situation like the Weimar Republic? Or do you think we're going to see that? If so, we're going to see it in the next 4 years?
We're going to see it at some point. It could come at any time. It will happen at some point, and I think that the best quote on this comes from Ludwig von Mises. He's an Austrian economist, and he said, "There's no means of avoiding the final collapse of a boom brought about by credit expansion. The alternative is only whether the crisis should come sooner as the result of a voluntary abandonment of further credit expansion, or later as a final and total catastrophe of the currency system involved."
Chris, thank you very much. Peakprosperity.com. And Chris explains all of this and can help you through it and everything else. Peakprosperity.com. Chris Martenson, thank you for being on. And we're going to have Chris in studio with us hopefully several times next year to kind of really lay things out, because I want to show you what's coming and show you how the whole system works. And Chris is going to be instrumental in that. Now this, are you looking for something to bring your family together around the table this Christmas? How was your Thanksgiving? Did anybody have a bad Thanksgiving where people were talking politics?
No, I did not. No.
We isolated ourselves. We didn't have anybody over for Thanksgiving.
So that's one way to do it.
Yeah, it is. So we just didn't. But this Christmas, we've got a whole bunch of people coming over and don't want to talk about it. And there are families that are at each other's throat. You want a way to get together and just laugh and talk, and when things get maybe a little uncomfortable, pull this out. It's called Say Anything. The logistics of the holidays and the last year, things just weigh you down. Say Anything is a game that will bring your family together at the table, and you'll all be laughing and having a good time and not talking about the things that separate you, but bring the family together. It's called Say Anything. While you're shopping, get Say Anything as a gift for your family. Gather around the table and laugh together. It's called Say Anything. You'll find it at Target, Toys R Us, and Barnes & Noble, of course, online. It is Say Anything. Welcome to the program. Glad you're here with us. Pat and I are on our way to Haiti this week to bring Christmas to about 200 children in Haiti. These are the children that you rescued from the sex slave industry over the last 3 years, from your donations to Rescue Our Children, Operation Underground Railroad. And we're so grateful, and we want to show you the fruits of your labor. So we're going to go, and hopefully we'll have something posted before Christmas, but it is, we're going to go there and meet some of the families and the children that you rescued, and bring them some Christmas cheer. They've been in rehabilitation for about 2 years now, and life is not easy in Haiti.
That's this week you're going?
Yeah. You know, the one that I invited you to go. And
It is this week.
Too dangerous.
I didn't think it was.
Yeah.
You
I
and
think it
Stu.
was this week.
Yeah, it was this week. Yeah. So
I could make it.
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard
It sure
looking
is.
at these
No question.
children.
But these are the ones, they've been in rehab, and they're trying to get their lives back together and believing. So, I mean, they'll be in a.
Yeah,
in a
some
good
of them
place.
still, looking to be adopted and in foster care, et cetera, and that's pretty scary. Some of them are in orphanages because their parents are the ones who sold them into
Right.
the sex slave the business. Horrible, just horrible. But pray for them and all of those that are being held against their will all over the world. Just a incredible story from Tennessee. 6-foot frame, 310 pounds. His name is Eric Schmidt Matson. And if I could show you a picture of him, you would say, this is Santa. He's pure white beard. I mean, the Santas are not the Santas that we used to have growing up. The days of those fake white beards are over.
On Santa's helpers, yeah, those days are gone.
Yeah.
The Santa's helpers now look just like Santa himself.
I'm sorry, what?
The Santa's helpers that they use, in the malls,
You're right. Oh, yes.
just
you're right.
like the real Santa.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you'd see, I mean, it is. It's
Really
not,
cool.
I mean, when you were growing up, Santa's helpers were not.
No.
They were just helping. They were.
They were, and they weren't convincing.
You could tell they were just helpers because,
Yes.
what is that? Is that you're wearing like a cotton swab beard? What is that?
Right.
So he won the Just for Men Hair Products Company 2016 national contest for beard and mustache. And if you see him, it is an amazing beard. Amazing beard. He was born on December 6th. Anybody know why December 6th is important?
Is it right just before September or December 7th and right after December 5th? Incredible day. Incredible day.
Day before Pearl Harbor?
No. So tomorrow, watch his story because tomorrow's his story is on St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas Day is December 6th.
Okay.
Okay? That's the day that the real St. Nicholas died.
I was going to say you didn't even give me a chance. All you did was let those two.
Yeah. I know. I'm sorry, Jeffy.
You're not sorry.
But everybody knew you had the answers.
Okay.
So we didn't even worry about it.
So he waits for Christmas, and he plays Christmas 80 gigs a year, and works at the mall and everything else. And he was to be in Nashville, and he got a phone call. He had just gotten home from work, and his phone rings. And it was a nurse that works at a local hospital. And she said, there is a very sick 5-year-old boy who wants to see Santa Claus. And he said, great, I will be right there. Let me change into my outfit. And she said, don't. There's not enough time. Your red suspenders that you always wear will be enough. Come right away. So he was at the hospital in 15 minutes. He met the boy's family and mom. And they came out in the hallway and they explained that he was very, very sick and was on the doorway to death. And he said, okay, everybody in the family, unless you cannot cry, you can't go in there because I've got to be jolly. And if you start crying, I will start crying and it'll be over. So he had brought the boy a present, a small little present. And it was wrapped. And he said, I'm going to go in, stay here in the hall. They left the door open. He went in, and this little boy was so sick. He said he was so weak, he just looked like he was ready to fall asleep. And he came in and he sat down on the edge of the kid's bed. And he looked at him and he said his eyes opened up wide. And he said, so what is it I'm hearing about you missing Christmas this year? You can't miss Christmas. You're my number one elf. And the little boy looked up and tried to sit up in bed, and he said, I am? He said, of course you are. And the elves and I brought you a present. And he handed the boy the present, but he was so weak he couldn't really even open the gift wrapping, but saw that there was something from his favorite TV show inside, and he flashed a big smile. And Santa just sat there with him for a while. And he said, the little boy, they say I'm going to die. How am I going to know when I get to where I'm going? How am I going to know that I'm there? This amazing man sat there. I can't imagine. How would you answer that? He sat there on the edge of the bed and he said, will you do me a big favor? When you get there, you just tell them that Santa said, you're my number one elf, and they will let you in. Little boy looked at him and said, really? You're sure? He said, yes. He sat up and tried to give Santa a hug. And as he was sitting up, he just looked at Santa and said, can you help me? Santa reached down and scooped this little boy up into his arms and wrapped his arms around him and died in Santa's arms. He said he could feel him go limp, and he couldn't move. He just sat there and held this little boy until Mom, who was watching outside of the door, realized that her son had passed and came in sobbing, saying, no, 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 not yet, not now. This man is a former Army Ranger and said that he got out of the room as fast as he could, let the family have their privacy. And he had a hard time driving home through the tears. And when he got home, he looked at his wife, who spends her time being Mrs. Claus. A guy who has his ringtone, Jingle Bells. A guy who is Santa to kids year-round. And said, honey, I can't do it another day. I can't be this man. She convinced him to do just one more Santa date. This is what happens if you're married to a great spouse. They know. She knew. He went into a school and all the kids saw him and he was Santa. And there was nothing but joy. And he has kept all of his holiday dates this year since. You know, when we serve people, we think they're the ones who are going to get something out of it. And in rare occasion, that's true. Pat's mother-in-law is ill and living with them. And we have a good friend that we all had dinner with on Friday night that has had one of the most tragic stories. We've told you about him before. He's stage 4 cancer and just one of the most hopeful and giving men I've ever seen, and works in the nursery at the school with the children. And when you see him, he can barely move because of the cancer that is all coursing through his body. Recently, he was put into an experiment where they were going to use things like the bubonic plague and the AIDS virus and take out the guts of that and put in a cancer-fighting agent inside and try to attack the cancer using some of these deadly diseases. And it's a horrible, horrible experiment.
Although it's actually healed some people.
Yeah. And
so
when you have the other option. And he had gone through a surgery to get prepared for this study. He had done all kinds of stuff, off of chemo for 6 months, and getting sicker and sicker and more in pain, but waiting for this experiment. And it was supposed to start a couple of weeks ago. And he got there, and his blood work wasn't just right.
Had to go all the way down to Houston. One more test before they start the treatment.
He was actually there for the treatment, and he was, I think, early, and they said, let's just run this test. And his blood work wasn't right, and he was told flatly and coldly, oh, you no longer qualify. And he said, wait, because of my triglycerides? And she said, yep, they're up too high. And he said, well, okay, well, give me
a chance to get them down.
Give me a month and I'll get them back down. And she said, nope, it had to start today. And he looked at her and said, you realize you're pronouncing upon me a death sentence. It's too far gone now. You know that it's a death sentence for me. And him and his wife went out and they held it together until they got to the car, and they both sat and cried. And then he said he remembered a blessing that he had received that said that if a treatment was available that would make things worse for him, he would suddenly be kicked out of that treatment. And he said, I was overwhelmed with joy. And Pat and I sat at dinner, and we both, without saying it, thought, I know the same thing. This is one of the greatest men and women I have ever met in my life. The power of their faith. Yesterday, Pat's mother, who is sick.
My mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Group of people came and sang for her, sang Christmas carols, and he's standing outside, one of them, singing to, he's got stage 4 cancer and has had for a couple of years now, singing to my mother-in-law Christmas carols.
Wishing her well.
Incredible. He's just an incredible person.
We are blessed to live at a time when life is really brutal for some and really brutal all around the world. But we get the chance to see the best of life and the miracles in life, should we choose to look at them. Now this, good night's sleep. On your worst day, there is nothing quite like the healing power of a comfortable bed. How many times do you say to yourself, I just have to make it to bed. I'm just getting up so I can get my stuff done and I can go back to bed. Try your Casper mattress out, because you'll say that on good days. You'll be like so comfortable. You'll be like, I just want to get back here. Casper was invented with 2 high-tech foams that guarantee that you sleep cool and comfortable with the support that you need. Time magazine named it one of the best inventions of 2015, not only because of that, but because they've changed the way you buy a Casper and made it so affordable that this is the best mattress. It's changing everything. Casper mattress. Try it in your home for 100 nights. You're going to be shocked at the price of the best mattress you've ever slept on. Try it for 100 nights. If you don't like it, they refund every single penny of your money and return it and pick it up for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Offer code is Beck. You get $50 off at Casper.com. Go there now. Casper.com. Offer code Beck. Carly Fiorina is looking at a job with Donald Trump. What is she, Director of National Security?
Intelligence? Director of National Intelligence?
Yeah, National Intelligence.
You know what? The more good people we can get around him, the happier I am. I am not happy with this Rex Tillerson thing, as if that's who he's going to pick for the Secretary of State. A guy who loves Vladimir Putin, is convinced he's a good guy, does all kinds of deals with him. You know, I appreciate his expertise, but not when it comes to Russia. I'm happy. If Carly can be in, the more good people that we trust around him,